The champagne glass felt cold against Nathan Foster's palm as he surveyed the lavish ballroom, wondering why he had agreed to attend his business partner's wedding when he could have been finalizing the acquisition of a shipping company that would expand his logistics empire even further. The string quartet played softly in the background as guests mingled, their laughter and conversations creating a symphony of celebration, one that Nathan felt strangely disconnected from despite being surrounded by people. That's when he noticed her. She sat alone at a table near the window, absently tracing the rim of her untouched wine glass. Unlike the other women who seemed to be competing for attention in their designer gowns and sparkling jewelry, she wore a simple navy blue dress that complemented her slender frame. Her chestnut hair was pulled back in an elegant twist, revealing a profile that Nathan found himself unable to look away from. As if sensing his gaze, she glanced up, and their eyes met briefly across the room. Nathan felt an unexpected jolt in his chest, something he hadn't experienced in years of business dealings and casual relationships. Before he could process this strange feeling, his host, James, clapped him on the shoulder. "Nathan, there you are, enjoying yourself." Nathan pulled his attention away from the mysterious woman. "Of course, congratulations again." "Thanks," James grinned. "Listen, there's someone I want you to meet, an investor who's interested in your shipping venture." Nathan nodded, but his eyes drifted back to the table by the window. The woman was gone. Throughout the evening, Nathan found himself scanning the crowd, looking for the woman in the navy dress. He made polite conversation with potential investors, exchanged pleasantries with other guests, but his mind kept wandering. Just as he was about to give up and make an early exit, he spotted her on the terrace, standing alone and gazing at the stars. Without giving himself time to reconsider, Nathan stepped outside. The cool evening air was a welcome respite from the stuffiness of the ballroom. "Beautiful night," he said, instantly regretting the banality of his opening line. She turned, her eyes widening slightly in recognition. "It is," she agreed, her voice softer than he had imagined. "I'm Nathan Foster," he offered, extending his hand. "Natalie Grant," she replied, her grip firm yet gentle. "You're James's business partner, aren't you? The shipping magnate." Nathan was surprised she knew who he was. Most people at these events either recognized him immediately due to his wealth and occasional appearances in business magazines, or they didn't know him at all. Her casual acknowledgement was refreshing. "Guilty as charged," he said with a small smile. "And you, how do you know the happy couple?" "I'm a childhood friend of the bride," Natalie explained. "We grew up together in Connecticut before I moved to New York." Nathan leaned against the stone balustrade. "And what keeps you occupied in New York?" "Natalie Grant. I'm a marine biologist," she said, a hint of pride coloring her voice. "I work primarily with conservation efforts along the East Coast." Nathan couldn't help but be intrigued. In his world of corporate acquisitions and profit margins, he rarely encountered people passionate about causes bigger than themselves. "That sounds fascinating," he said sincerely. "Much more meaningful than moving cargo containers across oceans." Natalie raised an eyebrow. "Don't sell yourself short, Mr. Foster. Efficient shipping is essential for global commerce. Without it, many regions would be cut off from vital resources." Her perspective caught him off guard. Most people either envied his wealth or criticized his industry for its environmental impact. Her balanced view was unexpected. "Most people at these events just ask me about my net worth or my latest yacht," he admitted. "Well, I don't care much about yachts," Natalie said with a slight smile. "Unless they're being used for research purposes." They fell into an easy conversation, discussing everything from marine conservation to favorite books. Nathan was surprised by how quickly time passed. For once, he wasn't thinking about business deals or investment opportunities. He was simply enjoying the moment. "Would you like to dance?" He found himself asking as the music drifted out onto the terrace. Natalie hesitated. "I'm not much of a dancer." "Neither am I," Nathan confessed. "We can be terrible together." Her laughter was warm and genuine, sending an unexpected wave of pleasure through him. She nodded, and he led her back inside. As they moved awkwardly but enthusiastically to the music, Nathan realized he hadn't felt this lighthearted in years. There was something refreshing about Natalie's presence. She didn't seem impressed by his wealth or status. Yet she engaged with him as a person rather than a financial portfolio. When the music slowed, Nathan tentatively placed his hand on her waist. She stepped closer, and the subtle scent of her perfume, something floral and understated, enveloped him. "So, tell me," Natalie said, looking up at him with curious eyes, "what does a shipping magnate do when he's not at weddings or closing business deals?" Nathan considered the question. The truth was, his life had become a monotonous cycle of work, brief social appearances, and solitary evenings in his penthouse. "I'm embarrassed to admit that work consumes most of my time," he said honestly. "No hobbies, no secret passions," he thought for a moment. "I collect first-edition books, and I sail, though not as often as I'd like." "Sailing," Natalie's eyes lit up. "Now that's something I can appreciate. There's nothing quite like being on the water." As the evening progressed, Nathan found it increasingly difficult to imagine leaving without seeing Natalie again. When the reception began to wind down, he walked her to the coat check. "I've enjoyed talking with you tonight," he said, feeling uncharacteristically nervous. "I'd like to continue our conversation sometime." Natalie studied him for a moment, as if weighing her options. "I'd like that too," she finally said, reaching into her purse for her phone. They exchanged numbers, and Nathan felt a sense of anticipation he hadn't experienced in years. As he watched her leave, he knew that something significant had shifted in his carefully ordered world. The next morning, Nathan sat in his office overlooking Manhattan, unable to focus on the contract before him. His thoughts kept drifting to Natalie, her intelligent eyes, her thoughtful responses, the way she had made him feel both challenged and at ease. Taking a deep breath, he picked up his phone and typed a message. "Would you be interested in continuing our conversation over dinner tomorrow night?" Her response came quickly. "I'd like that, though I should warn you I have strong opinions about sustainable fishing practices." Nathan found himself smiling at his phone like a teenager. "I'll prepare my counterarguments, pick you up at 7. They agreed on a time and place, and Nathan felt an unfamiliar flutter of anticipation in his chest. He couldn't remember the last time he had looked forward to a dinner that wasn't business-related. The following evening, Nathan pulled up in front of Natalie's apartment building in Brooklyn. He had deliberately chosen his less ostentatious car, a sleek but understated Audi, rather than one of his more flashy vehicles. Natalie emerged from her building wearing a green dress that complemented her eyes. She looked beautiful in a natural, unforced way that made the knot in Nathan's stomach tighten. "You look lovely," he said as he opened the passenger door for her. "Thank you," she replied with a smile that seemed slightly self-conscious. "I don't get dressed up often. My usual attire involves waterproof boots and sun-protective clothing." "I'd like to see that sometime," Nathan said without thinking. The idea of Natalie in her element, passionate about her work, was strangely appealing. He had chosen a small, upscale restaurant known for its farm-to-table cuisine and sustainable practices, hoping it would align with her values. As they were seated at a corner table with views of the city, Nathan saw approval in Natalie's eyes as she glanced at the menu. "You chose well," she commented. "This place sources all their seafood from sustainable fisheries." "I did my research," Nathan admitted. "I wanted to impress the marine biologist." Their conversation flowed naturally, picking up where they had left off at the wedding. Nathan found himself sharing more than he usually did on first dates, if this even was a date. He told her about growing up with parents who were constantly working, his early interest in international trade, and how he had built his shipping company from a modest inheritance. "It wasn't always smooth sailing," he said, wincing at the unintentional pun. "I made plenty of mistakes along the way, but you learned from them," Natalie observed. "That's what matters." As she talked about her own journey from a curious child collecting seashells to a scientist dedicated to ocean conservation, Nathan was captivated by her passion. While his own success was measured in dollars and cents, hers was tied to something larger, something that would outlast both of them. I must sound like a crusader, she said apologetically after enthusiastically describing a recent breakthrough in coral reef restoration. You sound like someone who cares, Nathan replied. It's refreshing. As dinner progressed, Nathan realized he hadn't checked his phone, once a rarity for him. The outside world, with its demands and deadlines, had receded. All that mattered was this moment, this conversation, this woman whose eyes sparkled when she spoke about her work. After dinner, neither of them seemed ready for the evening to end. They walked along the waterfront, the city lights reflecting on the dark surface of the East River. What made you sit alone at the wedding? Nathan asked, the question that had been on his mind since he first saw her. Natalie was quiet for a moment. I don't really know many people anymore. Emma, the bride, and I have been friends forever, but I've been away for field research so much that I've lost touch with our mutual friends. She shrugged. Plus, I'm not great at small talk. I noticed, Nathan said with a smile. You skipped right past it to challenging my entire business model. Natalie laughed, the sound carrying in the night air. I did, didn't I? Sorry about that. Don't be. It's one of the things I like about you. Their eyes met, and Nathan felt that same jolt he had experienced at the wedding. Without overthinking, he leaned down and kissed her softly. Her lips were warm and responsive, and when they pulled apart, the look in her eyes mirrored his own sense of surprise and pleasure. I didn't plan that, he admitted. Neither did I, she said, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. But I'm glad it happened. As Nathan drove her home, a comfortable silence settled between them. When they reached her building, he walked her to the door. I'd like to see you again, he said. I'd like that too, Natalie replied. But I should tell you, I'm leaving for a research expedition in 2 weeks. I'll be gone for a month. Nathan felt a pang of disappointment. A month? We're studying the impact of warming waters on marine ecosystems off the coast of Maine, she explained. It's an important project, Nathan nodded, admiring her commitment even as he regretted the timing. Then we'll have to make the most of the next 2 weeks, he said. Over the following days, Nathan reorganized his schedule to carve out time with Natalie. They explored the city together, visiting museums, walking through parks, and discovering small restaurants that neither had tried before. Nathan found himself seeing New York through fresh eyes, appreciating details he had long overlooked in his busy life. On their 4th date, he took her sailing on his modest yacht, a 40-foot vessel that he kept for personal use rather than show. As they navigated the waters around Long Island, Natalie's expertise and comfort on the water impressed him. You're a natural sailor, he remarked as she adjusted the sails with practiced ease. My father taught me when I was young, she explained. Before he passed away, we spent every summer on a boat much smaller than this one. I'm sorry about your father, Nathan said softly. Natalie's expression was wistful. He's the reason I became a marine biologist. He loved the ocean, respected it, taught me to do the same. As they anchored in a quiet cove for lunch, Nathan found himself sharing more about his own family. My parents are still alive, but we're not close, he admitted. They never understood why I wasn't satisfied with just inheriting the family business. They wanted me to maintain the status quo, but I saw potential for growth, for change. And now you've built something impressive, Natalie said, her gaze direct. But at what cost? The question caught him off guard. What do you mean, you work constantly? You said yourself you don't have time for hobbies, for relationships. She gestured around them. When was the last time you took this boat out before today? Nathan couldn't remember. It's been a while, he admitted. Life is about balance, Nathan. The ocean teaches us that. Everything is connected. Everything affects something else. Her words stayed with him long after they returned to shore. That night, lying in his king-sized bed in his penthouse apartment, Nathan realized how empty his life had been before Natalie entered it. His success had come at a price one he hadn't fully acknowledged until now. The next morning, Nathan made a decision. He called his executive team and announced he would be taking some time off, something he hadn't done in years. He wanted to make the most of the days before Natalie left for her expedition. For the next week, they were nearly inseparable. Nathan showed Natalie his favorite hidden spots in the city. while she introduced him to the wonders of the local marine life during a visit to a research center where she occasionally consulted. Most people don't realize how diverse the ecosystems are right here in New York Harbor, she explained as they observed a touch tank filled with local species. Her face was animated, her knowledge extensive, and Nathan found himself increasingly drawn to both her intelligence and her genuine concern for the world around her. As Natalie's departure date approached, Nathan felt an unfamiliar anxiety. In just over a week, she had become a significant part of his life. The prospect of not seeing her for a month felt strangely daunting. The night before she was set to leave, Nathan took her to dinner at an exclusive restaurant on the top floor of a Manhattan skyscraper. The view was spectacular, the food exquisite, but Nathan barely noticed either. His attention was fixed on Natalie, memorizing the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking, the sound of her laugh, the way her eyes reflected the candlelight. "I have something for you," he said as they finished their meal. He pulled a small package from his pocket and slid it across the table. Natalie looked surprised. "Nathan, you didn't need to, I wanted to," he interrupted gently. "Open it." Inside the package was a vintage compass, small enough to fit in the palm of her hand but intricately designed with brass detailing and a perfectly balanced needle. "It's beautiful," Natalie breathed, turning it over in her hands. "It belonged to a sea captain in the late 19th century, Nathan explained. "I thought you might like to have something that connects you to the maritime history you care so much about." Natalie looked up at him, her eyes shining. "This is incredibly thoughtful, thank you." "I wanted you to have something to remember me by while you're away," Nathan admitted. "As if I could forget you," Natalie said softly, reaching across the table to take his hand. After dinner, they walked through the city, reluctant for the evening to end. When they reached Natalie's apartment, she invited him up for the first time. Her home was a reflection of her personality, warm, unpretentious, and filled with evidence of her passions. Bookshelves lined with scientific texts and nature photography stood alongside collections of shells and sea glass. Framed photos showed Natalie in various exotic locations, often on boats or near shorelines, always with the same expression of determined joy. "This is exactly how I imagined your place would be," Nathan said, taking it all in. "And what about your home?" Natalie asked, making tea in her small kitchen. "Let me guess, minimalist, modern, lots of steel and glass," Nathan laughed. "You're not far off. Though I do have those first edition books I mentioned." They sat together on her couch, talking late into the night. When it came time for Nathan to leave, neither of them wanted to say goodbye. "I'll call you whenever I can," Natalie promised. "Reception can be spotty on the research vessel, but we're not completely cut off from civilization." Nathan nodded, fighting an unfamiliar tightness in his throat. "I'll be here when you get back," he said, pulling her close for a kiss that conveyed everything he wasn't ready to put into words. The month of Natalie's absence stretched longer than Nathan could have anticipated. He threw himself back into work, but found his perspective had shifted. Decisions that once seemed straightforward now prompted him to consider broader implications. During a meeting about a new shipping route, he found himself asking questions about environmental impact that would never have occurred to him before meeting Natalie. His executive team exchanged confused glances, but Nathan pressed on. "I want a full environmental assessment before we proceed," he insisted, "and I want to explore options for reducing our carbon footprint across all operations." When they spoke on the phone, brief, sometimes staticky conversations snatched during Natalie's limited free time, he told her about these changes. Her approval meant more to him than he wanted to admit. "You're making a difference, Nathan," she said, her voice fading in and out with the poor connection. "That's what matters." As the weeks passed, Nathan found himself reevaluating more than just his business practices. He thought about the empty rooms in his penthouse, the weekends spent alone reviewing contracts, the relationships he had let fade away as he built his empire. By the time Natalie's ship was due to return, Nathan had made some decisions. He met her at the dock, watching as the research vessel made its way into the harbor. When she appeared on deck, tanned and windblown, he felt his heart race in a way that both thrilled and terrified him. Natalie spotted him and waved enthusiastically. As soon as she disembarked, she rushed into his arms, smelling of salt and sunshine. "I missed you," she said against his chest. "I missed you too," Nathan replied, surprised by the depth of emotion in his voice. "More than I expected to." They spent the evening at Natalie's apartment, where she showed him photographs and data from the expedition, her excitement palpable as she described their findings. Nathan listened intently, asking questions and sharing in her enthusiasm. As the night grew late, Natalie yawned mid-sentence. "Sorry," she said sheepishly. "I'm still on ship time. We were up before dawn most days." "You should rest," Nathan said, standing to leave. "We have plenty of time to catch up." Natalie walked him to the door but hesitated before opening it. "Would you stay?" she asked quietly, "just to sleep?" "I've spent a month falling asleep to the sound of waves. I'm not sure I'm ready for the silence of my apartment." Nathan nodded, touched by her vulnerability. That night, holding Natalie as she slept peacefully beside him, he realized how much had changed in just a few short weeks. What had started as an unexpected encounter at a wedding had evolved into something profound, something that had the potential to reshape both their lives. In the morning, over coffee at Natalie's small kitchen table, Nathan took a deep breath. "I have something to tell you," he said. Natalie looked up, a flicker of concern crossing her face. "That sounds serious." "It is, but not in a bad way," Nathan assured her. "While you were gone, I did some thinking about my company, about my life." He paused. "I've established a foundation for marine conservation and sustainable shipping practices. I'm allocating significant resources to research and implementation of eco-friendly technologies across my fleet." Natalie's eyes widened. "Nathan, that's incredible." "There's more," he continued. "I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations. I've promoted my COO to handle most of the operational decisions. I want to focus on the bigger picture and on having a life outside of work." "What prompted all this?" Natalie asked, though the look in her eyes suggested she already knew the answer. "You," Nathan said simply. "Meeting you made me realize what I've been missing. The past month without you has been empty. I don't want to live that way anymore." Natalie reached across the table and took his hand. "I'm proud of you," she said softly. "These are big changes." "There's one more thing," Nathan said, his heart pounding. "The Foundation needs a director, someone with expertise in marine biology and conservation, someone passionate, knowledgeable, and uncompromising when it comes to protecting the oceans." Natalie's expression was a mix of surprise and caution. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you an opportunity," Nathan clarified. "To make a real difference with resources and support behind you. The position comes with complete academic freedom and a substantial research budget." He squeezed her hand. "But I understand if it's not what you want or if you're concerned about the personal complications." Natalie was quiet for a moment, considering. "It's a tempting offer," she admitted, "but I need to know, is this about us or about the work?" "Both," Nathan said honestly. "I won't pretend my feelings for you aren't part of this, but the Foundation would exist regardless. Your expertise and passion make you the ideal person to lead it, independent of our relationship." Natalie nodded slowly. "I'll need time to think about it. This is a big decision." "Of course," Nathan agreed. "Take all the time you need." In the weeks that followed, their relationship deepened. Nathan showed Natalie plans for the Foundation, introduced her to environmental experts he had consulted, and demonstrated his genuine commitment to making a difference. Meanwhile, Natalie consulted with colleagues and mentors about the professional opportunity, ensuring it was something she could pursue with integrity. 2 months after her return from the expedition, Natalie accepted the position as director of the Foster Marine Conservation Foundation. Her first act was to establish a comprehensive research program focused on the impact of shipping lanes on marine mammal migration patterns, a direct challenge to some of Nathan's company's operations. "You're not making this easy for me," Nathan remarked when she presented the research proposal. "That's not my job," Natalie replied with a smile. My job is to protect the oceans. Your job is to figure out how to run your business responsibly. Their professional relationship was as stimulating as their personal one. Natalie challenged Nathan's assumptions and pushed him to consider perspectives he had previously overlooked. In turn, Nathan helped Natalie navigate the complexities of implementing change within major industries, teaching her how to influence decision-makers and build effective coalitions. As autumn turned to winter, they settled into a rhythm that balanced work, personal time, and their growing relationship. Nathan found himself spending more nights at Natalie's cozy apartment than at his own penthouse. Her neighborhood, with its small cafes and community gardens, offered a different kind of life than the one he had built for himself, one that he increasingly preferred. On Christmas Eve, Nathan took Natalie sailing despite the cold. Bundled in warm jackets, they watched the sun set over the city skyline from the deck of his boat. "I have something for you," Nathan said, reaching into his pocket. "Another antique compass?" Natalie teased. "Not quite." Nathan revealed a small velvet box. Natalie's breath caught as he opened it to reveal a ring, a modest but beautiful diamond set on a band etched with wave patterns. "Natalie Grant," Nathan said, his voice steady despite his racing heart, "you've changed my life in ways I never expected. You've shown me what truly matters." "I love you and I want to build a life with you." He paused. "Will you marry me?" Tears filled Natalie's eyes. "Yes," she whispered, pulling him close. "Yes, I will." As they sailed back to harbor, plans and dreams flowing between them, Nathan reflected on how different his life had become since that wedding where he had first noticed Natalie sitting alone. What had begun as a chance encounter had developed into the most significant relationship of his life, one that had not only brought him personal happiness, but had also redefined his purpose and values. The following spring, they were married in a small ceremony on the beach, with the sound of waves providing a backdrop to their vows. As Nathan looked at his bride, radiant in a simple white dress with wildflowers in her hair, he knew that all his success and wealth paled in comparison to the richness of the life they were building together. Their honeymoon was a working expedition to the Galapagos Islands, where they combined research with romance, studying marine ecosystems by day and watching stars from the deck of a research vessel by night. It set the tone for their life together, a partnership of purpose and passion, respect and love. 2 years later, Nathan stood at the window of their beachfront home, watching as Natalie walked along the shore, their infant daughter cradled against her chest. The foundation had grown into a respected institution, influencing policy and practices across the shipping industry. Nathan's company had become a leader in sustainable shipping, proving that environmental responsibility and profitability could coexist. But his greatest achievement, Nathan knew, was the family he and Natalie had created, a family built on shared values, mutual respect, and a love that had begun with a simple glance across a crowded wedding reception. As Natalie approached the house, their daughter's tiny hand reaching out toward the waves, Nathan stepped outside to join them. Together, they stood at the edge of the ocean, the water lapping at their feet, the future stretching before them as vast and promising as the sea itself.